my name is Jess and welcome to my channel. Have a look at this. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the books that I would love to see made into films and the books I would love to see made into TV shows. I feel like there are some books where there's just like too much to condense it down into like 2.5 hours. So I have 5 books that I think should be made into films and 4 book series that I think should be made into TV shows. So let's just get started with the films. And the first book series I would love to see made into films is the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, but that's already been made into a film. But we don't like to talk about those on this channel. I mean, let's just be honest, these films were the biggest disappointment since Mean Girls 2. It annoys me so much because I just feel like these had so much potential, and especially around the time the first film came out, because Harry Potter was just finishing and people really wanted like a new fantasy franchise that they could jump on. And I'm not having a go at like any of the actors or anything because I really think they tried the best with what they had, but my point is what they had just didn't even compare to the source material. What they should have done is they should have got a bunch of actors around the age of the characters, they should have stuck to the book, and I think that it would have been like a massive film franchise if they'd done that. Because this book series has like everything you'd want in a film series. It's got action, it's got adventure, it's got romance, it's got amazing characters, it's got humour. And it would be so good if they did it well. Next book I would love to see translated into film is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I feel like this is a less known book than Percy Jackson, but all you really need to know about it to know that it will be an amazing film is that it's set in the 1920s and it involves like ghosts and murders and mystery. I can just like picture this being like a really quirky historical fantasy film like directed by Tim Burton. Like I feel like we've seen some historical fantasy before, but that's mainly in the Victorian era, which I love, but I feel like 1920s paired with that sort of like creepy horror vibe would translate into film so well, and it would be so amazing. Like just imagine Great Gatsby with demons, and I feel like that is what you would get from this. The next book I would love to see translated into film is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sainz. You appreciate my little attempt at the accent there. This is the sort of book that I picture as like a quietly artistic Oscar winner. Also, I feel like we're in a time where cinema's starting to like explore kind of LGBTQ films a bit more. Like we've got that film like Carol coming up and that looks amazing. But I can't really tell you the last film I've seen that kind of deals with it in teens, and especially not in a way that this book does. Because what's amazing that this book has is it has a really great romance element, but it also has such a great family element to it that I feel could translate amazingly to films. Oh, I just think it would be so beautiful. The next book I would love to see translated into film is Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wein. I feel like this is an even lesser known book than the past few, but it's one of my favourites of all time, and I feel like it's a really unique book that you could translate into film because it's told in the format of a confession of a young Scottish spy during World War II who has been captured by the Gestapo, and she's made an agreement with her captors to write down everything she remembers about the British resistance before her execution. And this includes the story of herself and her best friend Maddie, who was the pilot that flew her into occupied France. There are a lot of World War II movies out there and there are a lot of World War II books out there, but I don't think I've ever read one quite like this because it takes a look at something that I definitely don't see as much, which is kind of women's roles during it. Things like female spies, things like female pilots for the WAF, and it's a really beautiful story as well as being one that has so many plot twists and turns, and I just feel like you'd be gripped watching this from like beginning to end. Also, it's got a really heavy focus on aviation because, as I say, she tells the story of her best friend Maddie, who's a pilot, and you just have a chance for some really beautiful cinematography there with like shots of the sky and stuff, and it would be so beautiful and I want it to happen. And the final book that I would love to see translated into film is one that I think might actually be in the works right now, but I'd have to check that, and it is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. Again, this is another one that I think would be visually stunning because it's like nothing I've ever read before. Just so creative and imaginative. Like our main character Carew starts out working in a shop for a man with like the head of a lion or something who collects teeth that have magical properties. I don't know why, but when I picture this being made into a film, I picture it like kind of a Grimm's fairy tale sort of vibe, something that's really whimsical but then also quite gritty and dark. And I think this is probably the most challenging one to translate because, as I said, it is high fantasy and it's really, really weird high fantasy. But it it's like such amazing source material because Laini Taylor has some of the most beautiful writing I have ever read, and I feel like if someone looked really carefully at this, they could like take the beauty from her words and put it visually on screen, and it would just be a masterpiece. So into books I'd love to see as TV shows now. The first book I would love to see as a TV show is the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. So these books kind of fit quite neatly into the steampunk genre, and I feel like steampunk works so well with TV visually because you have the really cool period details and then you have it like mixed in with demons and creepiness. And I know that a TV show based on the Mortal Instruments, which is the original Shadowhunter Chronicles, is being made, and that sounds really cool. But I just think that this has so much more to offer in terms of like visuals and characters, because these are what I think is Cassandra Clare's strongest characters. And it would be so amazing and heartbreaking because this is one of like the best romantic plots I've read in years, and it would look so beautiful and I want it to happen. The next book series I would love to see translated into TV is The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot, and I feel like this could be a really sort of smart teen comedy drama series because it's about a girl that discovers she's a princess, but it also addresses some issues to do with identity and family and growing up and relationships. Mia has like a really unique brand of comedy as well, like she's quite neurotic and she's one of the most relatable narrators I've ever read about, and I feel like you could have with this kind of maybe a teen version of like the Mindy Project, or maybe like My Mad Fat Diary, something along those lines, like a teen comedy but one that you're just so emotionally attached to. And something Meg Cabot does really well in the books is she like gives the characters little details that make them come to life, and I feel like that would be so cool in TV shows because they already have all the material for these amazing characters and a really strong storyline, and they already have the material for an emotional hook because this series follows Mia from her freshman year of high school to her senior year. So it would just be perfect if they did it, and I would absolutely love to see Mia come to life on a TV screen. The next book series I would love to see translated into a TV show is the Lumatek Chronicles by Melina Marchetta. Melina Marchetta is one of my favourite authors, and this is one of my favourite series, and the most basic synopsis I can come up with for this, like this first book, Finnegan of the Rock, is that it is about a male refugee called Finnegan who is trying to find the lost heir to his kingdom and bring his people home. I picture it kind of like Game of Thrones, but I feel like Game of Thrones is very plot heavy, it's very action heavy, it's very political, and this is political too because a lot of the characters are refugees and it focuses on issues of identity. But what's really unique about these novels is that they are fantasy novels, completely character driven, and I feel like if it was a TV series that focused more on the people than the general world, it would be so amazing, because what's great with fantasy novels is everything just seems heightened in fantasy novels. Like sad things seem more sad and romantic things seem more romantic. Everything just seems amplified when you read a fantasy novel because generally speaking the stakes are higher. So a character driven one with really well fleshed out characters in a TV show would be unbelievable. And finally, the book series I'd love to see translated into a TV show is kind of a strange one, and I don't really know if they could pull it off, but I just thought it seemed really cool when I was scanning my bookshelves, and that is Stephanie Perkins' book. So Anna and the French Kiss, Lola and the Boy Next Door, and Isla and the Happily Ever After. I don't really think we see many romances as TV shows, and if they are, they're kind of like really dramatic 6-part dramas or whatever. But I feel like this could be really interesting if maybe you started with Anna's story and then a few episodes in started introducing Lola and then Isla into sort of all 3 stories intertwined in one TV series, and like every episode focuses on a different couple and ends in a cliffhanger in that different couple's life. It would be so amazing, and then in the series finale they could all meet and it would be perfect. Like I feel like they'd have to change it slightly so that all of them could kind of fit into the same series with different plot lines going on, but I feel like it would be kind of like a TV version of Love Actually, and I think that would be absolutely amazing if they did this because Stephanie Perkins' books are just so happy and so cute and so funny, and I would honestly just die if this happened. I want it to happen so badly. Okay, so there you have it. Are there any books that you would like to see translated into films or TV shows? Do you agree or disagree with some of my choices? Leave a comment to let me know, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.